Yes.
Well, great. How are you?
Ew.
Good. I remember you in that beautiful emerald diamond that
Hey.
dress you had on.
Yeah, I went to New York and I'm a big thrifter and my husband was awesome and he found a thrift store to go in New York City and I bought that and it's like I had nothing for it. And then I got the nomination. So I was like, yes, everything comes. I was gonna wear it no matter what.
Well, hello. How are you, Miss Laura? It's so wonderful to see you again.
Yes, how are you?
I am fantastic. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
being our Teacher Educator of the Year. I
You.
am humbled and honored that I get to interview this evening.
Well, I am it was very much it was a very big surprise for me and I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get right into it and learn just a little more about who you are and just your passion and what you do for career and technical education. All right? All right. Question number one. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved in career and technical education.
Well, it's funny. I'm a third generation teacher. And when I was 17 and graduating high school, I told my mom I was not going to be a teacher. I also told her I wasn't going to Iowa State, which is really ironic given the circumstance now. Um, but originally, I went in to the textile apparel industry. I worked in quality assurance and then later on design at Land's End Incorporated. I did that for a couple of years, and I just felt at the end of the day I wasn't making a difference. Um, I was invited to a future search summit for FCS and family consumer sciences. And there I met a lot of really passionate teachers. And I decided that's what I wanted to be. At the time, the state I was at, there wasn't alternative or what we call career technical authorization. So I went back to school and got prepared, traditionally prepared as a family and consumer sciences teacher. I really didn't understand my connection to CTE until working and then getting connected with ACTE. Since then, like I have just grown more and more passionate. Like we know that students who are involved in CTE education have higher graduation rates. I've seen it in my own classroom that you access core skills by actually practicing them hands-on in the classroom. Like I fundamentally believe career and technical education is for everyone, and that you can learn everything you need in a hands-on, authentic experience. So, um, when I was an FCS teacher, I got involved at my state affiliate. As many people who are part of their state affiliate know, like you soon when you get involved, you might get recruited for leadership positions. I was the state president. And then during that time, I actually got the chance to be not just an FCS teacher, but the teacher educator at the local university here. And I took it. And ACTE has just been fabulous on that journey. It really is where I connect to have that meta of how to teach teachers to be teachers. And it's really helped me connect with like best practices and resources and hugely advocacy for our disciplines. So ACT has been integral to it all. I did a fellowship through I did one of the fellows program and everything I get involved in really helped me grow and that helped my students grow and at the end of the day that's all I care about. I want to be a good teacher and I want make want I want to be a good teacher and I want to make great teachers.
Yeah. And you know, you said the word a couple of times, which is going to segue into me asking you just to expound just a little bit more, like what makes you passionate about CTE? And you mentioned it a little bit, but I'm gonna let you just share a little more about that.
Yeah, it's the authentic stuff. Working at a university right now, I think we get I encounter people who still have the vocational or the separate tracks of CTE and I don't know what you would call traditional academic schooling. And I really am passionate. It's not an either or. Um, if you want people to get jobs, hopefully successful grades after graduation, your career in technical education, or you're in support of it. And for me, um, for me personally, finances were always something that was a struggle for my family. Career and technical education gives you real skills that you can work and earn, and really it's not an either or track. Like honestly, my education has been layered throughout. I have 2 bachelors, I have a master's, and now I'm working on my PhD while still holding this job. Um, and I see at the high school, really, it was the other place that I saw it, because students get so involved in hands-on actual experience. Um, it's almost like, why are we teaching these skills without context? And CTE is the context for everything. And so in my mind, we really should have CTE be the backbone of public education, and then interweave math, science, literacy skills on top of those.
I so agree with you, right? And it's so interesting that you said what you said about high school students. And I teach high school students that are interested in becoming educators. I'm also
Yes.
a family and consumer sciences educator as well. And so I know that this is not a part of it, but we have to collaborate, right? So that we can keep on growing our teachers and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do,
Yeah,
and work our passion together, right? So
right.
I just think that that's just the way to go, and that's what we do. And so I'm gonna push on to our next question, and it says, tell us some of the practices you use to make your classes unique, and what is your secret to success?
So my secret to success is really that my own annoyance at busy work. I would say that my practices are always, how do I prepare you in the most authentic way? Whoa, that is my light. I suppose we need that, don't we? Does this get edited? I apologize. Um, is my, am I really?
You are still wonderfully beautiful on that
Okay,
screen.
they were fine. Though my automatic lights don't think I'm in the room anymore, but that's okay.
Okay.
Um, So my secret is really try to make things as authentic and real world as possible. In my own classroom, I soon adopted a standards-based grading approach, because kind of the light bulb hit, like, how many points is an apron worth? It's not worth any points. It's either like it's done well, it's manufactured it's well, or it's not. And the same with culinary products. And then coming up
Mhm.
to being a teacher educator, I was frustrated at my own. I had gone through a traditional path, and it really helped with pedagogy and things like that. But I was frustrated at all the gaps and holes as a CTE teacher I had to do, specifically with reporting. And then I got introduced to the Perkins high quality indicators from ACTE, and instead of them being like these hurdles, I suddenly got the reason for it. And so that's just the start, what I wanted to do with my own students. I really, if I'm making FCS teachers, I want you to be introduced, not just to good teaching, but to being an FCS teacher, to being a high quality FCS teacher. So part of that is we are involved in professional organizations from the get-go. We attend our state conference all the time. I'm hoping to get students up at the higher levels as well, but I'm seeing the trickle down as they're new professionals staying in organizations. Another example is I utilize ungrading approach. An ungrading approach doesn't assign grades to each individual artifact, but rather focuses on feedback. And that is a different approach for college students. They're used to getting to do it once and then being done. Whereas mine, I'm like, you're going to give me your best lesson plan and you're going to get coached by me and it's going to improve. And so getting them to that iterative point. But for me, that's really what real teaching is about. You might have an evaluation once or twice a year, but really beyond that, it's a lot of what you are doing to meet your own students' needs. And I had to make that in a way that wasn't so extrinsically motivated, so it wouldn't always be on the back burner with my students. And that's really my approach. I love to come to Vision and work with other CTE professionals. Like you and I need to talk because I need to hear what you're doing, and we need to keep collaborating. But
Yes.
I never want to get away from the actual FCS classroom and what real teaching is like, because I don't know. The real teaching is like riding a bike, except the bike is on fire and everything's on fire. Or I said to my other teacher educator yesterday, real teaching is just like surfing the chaos
Yeah.
and doing the best possible. But I love it. Like there's nothing better. You're working with adolescents and they are literally deciding the humans they're going to be in the world and what they're all about. So it's my favorite.
Yeah, that's wonderful, because, what you're doing is you are really helping them to grow and really learning how to become the best version of themselves, right? And so I think that that's a wonderful approach and the ungraded, right? And so I may have to adopt that.
Let's brainstorm sometime. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, like in FCS, we really have that dual nature. Like we
Yes.
teach career skills, but a lot of them
Yes.
have essential, like just transferable or transitional skills to all of life. And
Yes, it
for
does.
me, so I chose FCS because my purpose is to share with people the tools they need to make conscientious choice in their life and work. A lot of times we kind of just repeat what was modeled to us out of
Yeah.
default. But if you sit and think about what kind of person I want to be, what kind of career do I want to have, what kind of parent do I want to be, what kind of do I want to be a parent, how do I want to eat? All those things come into play, and you get to choose what your life is going to look like. And that's the most optimistic future ever.
That's right. That's right. And so, segueing into our next question, tell us about one of your proudest accomplishments in career and technical education.
I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised to be the winner of this award, and this is ranking pretty high right now. Um, but I will give one that is more accessible to everyone because I was very fortunate to be nominated and chosen. I will say I'm not the best FCS teacher educator out there. I'm not even the best CTE teacher educator out there. I work really hard, and I try my best, and I got recognized, but there's somebody out there whose song isn't sung. But the one that I would say that is accessible to everyone. So I was in a fellow program, and part of that, you were supposed to make a program to you could do it, but it's supposed to influence and build diversity in your own program. In FCS, we are a very female-dominated profession. We also represent female-dominated professions. And I really took this challenge in that I wanted to diversify FCS teachers because right now we represent a very narrow niche of people. And I want to change. As long as women teach this stuff, we're going to continue to imply that women are responsible for this stuff. And so I really focused mine around like, okay, how do I start diversifying and attract more males to become FCS teachers, which is honestly a hard problem because we have all this stuff around girls in STEM, which is totally cool. Love that. But there weren't any overt barriers to men becoming FCS teachers, and there's a lot of stigmatization around men who choose female-dominated professions. But I was able to work on that for my fellowship. That inspired me, and it's going to roll in, and it's going to be my dissertation. So that is a big deal for me. And it all started with a project with ACTE.
That is absolutely that and you're so right. Like when we think about it, there are not a lot. And I was sharing earlier, we had an elective fair today, and I was so overwhelmed that we had a great number of young men to come in who want
Yes,
to work with
yes,
children. And I
yes.
was like, yeah, I felt the same way. I'm like, yeah. So, I gave them their props and just spoke to them because I wanted them to know how important it is for them to be represented in this arena and in this area.
Oh,
So I
good.
love that response that you gave. And so our next question is this. So what words of advice, support, or encouragement would you give to teachers facing some of the current challenges we have now in education?
Network. I know it's easier than ever with online, and it feels like, and so I was guilty of this too. I was not necessarily involved in my professional organizations early in my career. And the reason I justified it is I was working, burning the candle at both ends, and there was always too much to do. And so the idea of like, okay, doing this thing on top of it, like I'm already working hard, I'm doing it, I'll get it under control. But the time spent networking really helped, like it improved the stuff I was working with because I got ideas and best practices from other people. But meeting other people like me um was honestly the best outcome. I think a lot of times, like in a building, if you're CTE, you might have other CTE people, but the industrial tech teacher faces a whole different set of challenges than I do. I even had a multi-person department, but I was the only one teaching the classes I was teaching. So networking to find other people who face your challenges, and then like in a really positive way, we kind of cheer each other on and encourage each other. And so I would say that I would also say like advocate. Um, it's it's hard at the end of the day, but like get your students out to meet legislators. I always take advantage of our CTE day at the Capitol because that is when you really say like, and truly CTE education is is nonpartisan. Is that how you say it? Yes. CTE education, like everyone wants to have kids succeed. And we've got that very fortunate chance to be that. But you have to keep reminding people because if it just kind of fades into the background, you have to keep reminding them that we're important. You have to address stereotypes all the time. But I don't know, if you meet people and you're really passionate about it, like I have had the most wild conversations with legislators just because I'm just this excited and geeked out about things. So yes, I guess if for the challenges facing you, find some other people. Sometimes you hit roadblocks that other districts have and other teachers have overcome. They just don't know it. You don't know it, and you just need to share the idea, and suddenly it clicks into place. And also, for those of you who are doing great, share what you have. Teaching is not an individual competition. It's definitely a team sport, and we all get better together.
Yes, and that's so true, you know. And I think it's like you said, like when you first start as an educator, you know, you don't think about it, you know, you don't think about those things. And then when you go, you're like, oh my God, like I've missed this all of these years. Like I was in my bubble and now look at this, you know, this big arena of other teachers who are doing the same thing that I do. And so it makes it such a wonderful thing, which really segues, I mean, wonderfully into our last and final question. And that is, what part of being an ACTE member do you value most? And what would you say to someone who is considering becoming a member of ACTE?
This is fun because I was gonna say I went to my state before I went to the national, and vision is by far my favorite part of ACTE. It is my like, I granted I won an award this year, and that's a major thing. So obviously, but I have enjoyed it every year that I've gone. And like there was nothing to explain it to me until I went to my first one. My first one was in Nashville, and at the Grand Ole Opry. So you can imagine that around the end of November. It was beautiful. But I had never been on that level. I still have a lot of other high school teachers in other different areas that have never been on that level. And so I guess I would say, like, if you can at all, find a way to attend Vision, use Perkins, or I pay for it myself at this point because it is just so fun. It's like destination vacation for work life. I meet people. I need to do a better job of presenting because I always think that I don't have something to say, but I do. But you get out there and you're like, the workshops I saw at this one, they were just so energizing. I walked away with new ideas. It is just that exponential piece. And then I think a lot of people like go to professional development and think they have to totally focus on professional development, but the friendships, the networks, the fun times you get to share with people. I think all the divisions have hospitality rooms. I would really just like make friends with people. People are wonderful. I've started to have to save people in my phone as like where they are from, what they do, and which place I met them, because I have enough, like I have a lot of friends now, but it is just amazing the people you run into and the connections you make. And I used to be and I still am pretty oriented around FCS, but my viewpoint has expanded. All of career and technical education is important. I advocate it at any level. And I just, again, it goes back to my first one of like, we are the actual experience that makes things like meaningful. And we really should focus more on that.
Yeah. And you know, you're so right, Laura. You know, ACTE and Visions is just it is a vacation for, you know, professional developmental learning, right? We go and we learn, but we get to collaborate, we get to have conversation. And like you said, you know, on your telephone, you mark it, you say, so I met her, this is Kimberly, Visions ACTE 23, right? Because you remember those moments, but you know, and then when you go back, it's just that wonderful thing to be able to, you know, go back and see those people and tell them the wonderful things that you've been doing and sharing. And yes, I do think that you should present I think that you would be awesome. Awesome, awesome. So,
Well, and I was also going to say, if it continues, one of the things we started a couple of years ago that I'm loving right now
huh?
is the new to CTE teacher symposium.
Oh, yes.
And I'm hoping to see that continue because there are so many people coming to CTE teaching through different routes. And I am not a snob or elitist about it. I think everyone brings different strengths. And we just need to all collaborate together. But a lot of times when you come, you feel like more of a singleton because you may or may not have been recruited with someone with a background background or knowledge of CTE. Sometimes they need to fill a hole and they're like, you're qualified. And so I hope that new teacher keeps going because really that's just really energizing. It's really good to get them together. And like you said, that's how I have a lot of contacts in my phone.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I mean, like we should collaborate about FCS teaching and FCS
Yes.
teaching. And yeah, I just am so passionate about career and technical education teaching because I have seen it change so many kids' lives. It's changed my life. And really there's nothing more authentic in the world to me.
Yeah. Well, Laura, I will tell you, it has been such a pleasure and an honor to have this conversation with you and to be able to get to know you a little better and to congratulate you sincerely on becoming our Teacher Educator of the Year for ACTE. Um,
Thank you.
as we continue to move along, we need more of you and just making sure that we provide opportunities for those young people out there who want to be
Yeah.
a part of. And so
Yeah.
um
If I
I yeah,
if I
go
put
ahead.
in one more plug,
Yeah, absolutely.
all the career technical teachers out there, talk to your kids about being a teacher. We are so focused on the jobs that we lead to that we forget ourselves as a career. And I don't so I think I have a personality that I would have gotten bored of I got bored of my first job in fashion design in 2 years, and that's pretty glamorous. But
Hmm.
CTE teaching is the one thing that I never get bored of because I have so many different content areas I can teach. So CTE teachers out there, honestly, think about talking to some of your kids about being a teacher, and don't always think about talking to the ones that are straight A students. I love all kids, but I have found it's the kids who really dig in and work for that B, that A, sometimes that C, that really can bring it down metacognitively and really have a passion to teach students. And that is um, that is something I love. Bring us more CTE teachers all the time.
Well, thank you again, Laura.
Ew.
Wishing you and your family a wonderful holiday season.
Yes.
And we look forward to seeing you next year in
Yep.
San Antonio, Texas. So,
Every year.
congratulations again. I'm
Thank
just
you.
very honored to have the opportunity to talk with you and speak with you. And so, with that being said, we're going to say good evening to you.
Good evening. Thank you so much. And we
All
should
right.
talk again sometime.
We are.
Okay. Sounds great. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.